Begin the current Daf, Mesechtes Bava Kama Daf Pei. Begin 2 lines down at the top of the Amud. Where the Gemara continues on the theme of our previous Mishnah, which is discussing Behema Dakas, regarding small livestock, regarding the permissibility and what's prohibited to hold on to them in Eretz Yisrael. Sure, corresponds to throughout the entire world. So I'm discussing today's daf, like we said, is imagal mehem daka b'Eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to bring up small livestock in Eretz Yisrael because it harms other people's fields. The question was lishris, whether a person may keep a small animal secluded in his home or not. Can you do things that it won't cause damage? If a shepherd does tshuva, which all the damage that was caused with his animals and all that, so we don't obligate him to sell right away, because if he's going to sell right away everything, so it's going to cause him a huge loss. Rather, he can sell a little bit at a time. And just like you say, now bring up small domestic livestock, we said you cannot bring up small wild livestock. Regarding what type of things could you scream out for or blow the shofar for, regarding types of things that cause you to scratch. A life lesson that when the door closes, it doesn't easily open. And if someone buys a house in Eretz Yisrael, you're allowed to write the document, even though on Shabbos. I'm going to explain exactly how is that possible to write on Shabbos, but that would be permitted for buying a house in Eretz Yisrael. So we begin the current Daf Pei, 2 lines down at the top of the Amud. The students ask him, what's halacha? Can we bring up small livestock in Eretz Yisrael? And it says, mutter, it's permitted. It says, but now we learn the Mishnah, I'll bring up small livestock. No, so no, what they asked him was following. Can you hold on to it? He says, yes, permitted, as long as it doesn't go out and graze in the flock. Rather, you tie it onto the bedpost, which Rashi brings that the Rabban disagree on Reb Gamliel. Taisa says, no, so it's machlekes. Rashi and Taisa, if they're disagreeing about, Taisa brings this whole idea that tying to the bedpost. We know this week's parsha that they tie to the bedpost. We see that there was this idea that that's what they used to do, and that's Ishachag Bavesam at Kanzam Mizbeach, Sheikoshun HaKarbonis Bekare Emita Shvil Kronis Mizbeach, that they would tie it. So Al Kaponim Remilil is saying that you're not allowed to bring up small livestock, but if you have one, then you're allowed to hold on to it before the Yom Tov, and he's saying that as long as you don't let it just run around, as long as you tie it to the bed. There was a story with a pious person that he was groaning from his heart, meaning, as Rashi explains, he was screaming out from the pain of his heart. He had chest pains, and he couldn't calm down. Okay, they asked the doctors, "What should we do?" And they said, "There's no remedy for this guy." Doctors, they know, no, only this is you can't do nothing, but there's he has to suckle hot milk from one morning to the next morning, meaning every morning he has to have a little hot milk. So they brought him a goat. They tied it to his bed post. Every single morning, a glass from tzigele milk, a little hot milk. And the yamim, there was sometime later, his friends came to visit him. Maybe because of Chayla, who knows? When they saw the goat tied to the bed frame, they went backwards. They took steps back. They said, an armed bandit is in this person's house, meaning, as Rashi explains, because the goat grazes in other people's fields, steals from the public, so it's like an armed bandit. We're going to go into him? Can't come visit such a rasha, was in sein Stub. You think he had some type of technology, whatever, this and that. But no, this is the armed bandits. You can't walk into such a person's house. Yashua Botku, they sat down and they checked. They realized that the only sin he had was this one sin of this goat. And also him at the time of his death, he said, he says, I know I don't have any sin. Is only the sin of that goat. That I violated the words of my friends. So interesting that it's not even saying that he even violated the halacha. You have to know if that means the halacha, but Akabam, his chaverim held that it's forbidden, and that was the one sin of Inz Alam and Gezugt of that he had the goat in his house. Amir Bishmol. Bishmol says, from the homeowners in the Upper Galilee, that's where my father's household was. Why was it destroyed? Because they used to graze their small livestock in the forest, and they also educated monetary cases with just a single judge. So the Gemara explains, but even though they actually had the forest right next to their homes, and therefore the animals didn't graze in other people's fields, and because of the forest, says Rashi, that's not gazel, because the Gemara tells us that we said you could in our Mishnah, our previous Mishnah said you could be megalim mecharshin, you could have small livestock in the forest. And later on, the Payal from Alf, the Gemara tells that Yeshua ben Nun was masakin that people should not be particular about forests, even till they were punished. Why? Because Sadekatana Haisa, there was a small field between them and the forest, which was owned by someone else. You always have that one guy who owns that little piece of land that gets in the way. And would pass through that field on the way to the forest, and that damage was why the homes in the Upper Galilee were destroyed. From Molana Braisa, and you have to understand why things are destroyed. We look at things things happen to Eretz Yisrael. What are the real reasons? So the Gemara is telling us some of the real reasons why things happen. Raya, a shepherd that's shepherding his own animals. Sha'asa tshuva, that did tshuva not to bring up any small livestock anymore. So we don't force him to sell. Okay, sell all your small livestock, right? It's a big sale. Come, everyone's going to have a lot of goat meat for the next few weeks. He's selling all his. No, we don't force him to sell right away. He could sell a little bit at a time. Obviously, he would suffer a huge loss if he had to sell everything right now, one shot. So similarly, b'chein ger. Let's say convert. His father was a real, he had dogs and he had swine, and the father was not Jewish. The child converted and became a Jew, and now he's inheriting his father, which our Mishnah said you're not allowed to have dogs and swine. So we don't force him to sell the father's whole pig farm in one shot and all the dogs. He can sell a little bit at a time, again simply because that it shouldn't be this huge loss. So to a similar case, someone takes a vow, he's going to buy a house, and he's going to marry a woman, Be'eretz Yisrael. He's very pro. And he's going to do these things. We don't force him, okay, let's go. Cause match, whatever, like you find someone right away and move in. He says again this way. Until he finds the woman that's appropriate for him, the house that's appropriate for him, you don't have to do it right away. Again, it would be too much of a loss if we force him to do it in one shot. Now, there was actually a story of a woman, that her son was being difficult for her. She got up and she swore, whoever's going to come, I'm not going to turn him away. Meaning this woman was a single mom, and she needed someone to help put this child in his place. She said, I need a man to whip him in shape. Whoever comes, I'm not going to turn him away. So all these, who gets wind of these things? These people, these life scammers, and they come. They were saying, "Here, I'm here." The inappropriate people. When word came to the sages, they said, "The woman did not have in mind someone that's appropriate for her. If she doesn't have to marry, or she took a shvua, say, "Oh, whoever comes, I'm not going to turn them away." It doesn't mean you, buddy. And it's until an appropriate person comes along. Now, going back to this theme, just like they said, that you're not allowed to bring up small livestock in Eretz Yisrael. So they say you can't bring up small wild animals. So like deers or foxen, all those are not allowed to be brought up either. Shmolami says, now we get a little bit more specific over here. He said, Megadlin, you're allowed to raise Kalavim Kufrim, which these are small dogs. That's one shot, or it means big dogs of the hunters, but they don't damage. So that's one type. Bechatulim and cats. The kupin, all the cat people start clapping here. The kupin and monkeys and bechuldois sunoim. These are weasels that live in the bushes. Because they're made to clean out the house from the mice, so they're necessary. Says what are these weasels of the bush? So my view says it's shirtza charza. It's creeping and digging. There are those that say it's charza, it's the stinging, the ketini shoke, that has thin legs, and it grazes between the bushes, the thorn bushes. My shirtza, what does it mean that it's creeping? It means because its legs are short, so it looks like it's a sheretz, like it looks like it's just creeping. It's very small legs. Okay, I'm going to read the Midab. He says, we made ourselves in Bavel, K'Eretz Yisrael, L'Behemedaka, like Eretz over this halacha of the small livestock, which Rashi says that from the day of Golas Yechanya, the students increased in Bavel and they settled there like mamish, like the Yeshub in Eretz Yisrael. That's one pshat. Or another pshat is that when Rav came to Bavel, he instructed us that from the days of Yechanya, or that actually that's when there was a lot of people that came then. But upon it's when Rav came to Bavel that but upon Rav said that we made ourselves in Bavel like Eretz Yisrael, that you also now have Behemedaka, because you have the Yeshuvim in it's a huge population of Jewish people. Well, what about yours? You have a small livestock. So Amalei, so Rav Huna said to him, the Dan, ours, come into the Chayva. Chayva was his wife's name. He says Chayva is watching it. So Amalei says Chayva tikberinu libna. Says Chayva should bury her son because you're relying on her and she can't protect. And that's the whole reason why we said you're not allowed to have small livestock. Now Tais brings from Rabbi Chananel that it wasn't cursing him, it was like in a wonder. He says, what, she wants to bury her son? That either because he says she's not busy bringing up her children, she's busy raising the sheep. So interesting, like, she's got a job. Who's taking care of the kids, right? Or it means that she's not afraid that she's going to get punished to have to bury her son. But upon him, it's like Taisa says, Kishkaga hayotzim lifnei hashalad, as the Gemara brings elsewhere, that like it ends up being a curse. So Kulish Nidid of Ad Bar Abba, all the years of Ad Bar Abba, who had said this to Rav Huna about his wife, Lo Yikayim Zar Rav Huna Machayva. Rav Huna did not have any children from his wife Chayva. You could tell me those that say Rav Huna Merdab, he says, I've seen that's been Babel Keretz Yisrael, Behemedaka. So this is the teaching that we said before. Just he adds on one more thing. So this is we made ourselves like Babel, like Eretz Yisrael for small lives, like is Mechiyas or Rav Babel. Is when Rav came to Babel. So this is what Rashi says, two pshatim. Either because that's when a lot of people settled because of his yeshiva, or he came and he warned us and he told us because he saw the large populace of the Jewish people and the yeshuv that was there, which again that was from the times of Yechanya. So therefore that's why it was only when Rav came to Babel, either because that's when there was so many people came because of Rav, or because he just told us this halacha. Now, relating back to what we said before, the Gemara brings Rav Shmuel Rav Asi Iklo Lebei Shavua Haben. So this is the famous source. So there's Shavua Haben means the week of the sun, which Rashi says bris milah. What is that? Why is a bris called a Shavua Haben? Because 7 days have to pass, right? It's on the 8th day, so 7 days pass. Right? If your baby's born on Monday, the bris is on Monday, so 7 days have to pass. So you have the bris milah. So they went to a bris milah, the week of the ben of the sun. But some say it was lebei Yeshua haben. So this is the famous shtickle over here. What does it mean a Yeshua haben? The salvation of the son. So Rashi says it's a party that they do for the pidyon haben of the bechar, of the firstborn, which Yeshua is translated as purkan, which is redemption, which is like the pidyon. So Yeshua haben makes sense as the pidyon haben. Yeshua haben, pidyon haben. But Tais says that's difficult because although you translate pidyon as purkan, but the word Yeshua, he says, really wouldn't be appropriate. Although some Gemaras bring on the side that the Tanchuma and the end of Parashat Achri says like Rashi, but the main time says that a boy was born over there, and because the child was saved from the mother's womb, because birth is a difficult transition, like it says V'himlita Zachar, so that's where the word Yeshua is. And Regilin Lasei Suda, they would normally make a meal. So this is what's known as either the Shalom Zachar or the Vachnacht. this is the source for this halacha of Yeshua Haben, that the salvation of the child. That's why we make a Shalom Zachar. But be that as it may, that's really secondary to the story. They were on their way into the Shalom Zachar, or to the Bris, or to the Pinya Ben, or to the Vachnach, one of these. And Rav lo al kamei de Shmuel. Rav did not go in front of Shmuel, which the Gemara is going to tell us shortly why that is. There's a continued base, but Shmuel lo al kamei de Ravasi. Remember, there's three Talmidei Chacham. There's Rav, Shmuel, and Ravasi. So now you run into a problem over here. Why? Because Rav didn't want to go in before Shmuel. Shmuel al kamei de Ravasi. Shmuel did not want to go in front of Ravasi because Ravasi was greater than him. Ravasi lo al kamei de Rav. Ravasi did not want to go in front of Rav because he was a Talmud of Rav. Somebody said, Man nitrach. Who should wait on the outside and come in last by himself? So nitrach Shmuel. Shmuel was left outside. V'nesi Rav Ravasi. Let Rav and Ravasi come in first. First Rav, then Ravasi, who was a student, and then Shmuel. Says why? V'nitrach Rav or Ravasi. Why can't it be the other two, that they should be the ones outside? I think what it tells us that Shmuel really was the smallest of them all. Why didn't Rav want to walk in before him? That's Rav Milsam Amud Avad Leila Shmuel. Rav was just doing a sign of a gesture, as they call it, to Shmuel, to honor him. Why, if Rav is greater? Because there was a story that the Gemara brings in Shabbos of Kov Chesam and Aleph, Perik Shloimy Schwartzberg, when Rav came to Bavel, and this whole story that he was trying to heal Rav from his that he was constipated, whatever, and this whole story. So he tried to heal him, so he cursed him. So because of that, he cursed him. Adbere Rav alei. So Rav would always, try to treat him with honor, and therefore to let him go first. But really, he was greater than Shmuel, and therefore first Rav, then Ravasi, and then Shmuel. Now, but in the meantime, when they were both all refusing, no, you go, 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 no one's going. In that meantime, which is really the main point why we're bringing the story, Asa Shundra, a cat came along, Kateli Yada Dinuka, and it cut off the hand of a child, of a baby. Nothing Rav Darshan. Rav went out and he darshan, which Taisa brings, it didn't happen right now. He had darshan actually beforehand, but point is, Rav had darshan chatul, a cat, putul hargu. You're allowed to kill it, basle kaimai. You're not allowed to hold on to it. I guess all cat lovers are not, down thumb over here. Gezel, and there's no robbery. There's no problem about stealing it from the guy. There's no halacha of returning the lost object to the owner. Now, meaning to say that if you find the cat dead, there's no chiyuv of even hashavas aveda for the cat skin. Which Taisa says, well, that's a wonder, because since we're telling you that there's no gezel, so why do we have to tell you that you're allowed to kill it? So it says that you don't have to be concerned, since in the beginning we said that you're allowed to kill it. Well, the Gemara is going to ask something similar. So the Gemara first says, so there's no obligation to return this to the owner. So says the Gemara, but even the Amar, since you say Mutla Hargo, you're allowed to kill it. My niusu aslakam. So what are you saying, that you're not allowed to hold on to it? Of course, you're allowed to even kill it. So no, Ma'atim, what do you say Mutla Hargo, that you're allowed to kill it? Meaning, if someone sees a cat because the cat is dangerous, you're allowed to kill it. But it's true, like there's no prohibition. But my friend is saying no, there's an issa. I'm going to say, okay, but given the Amar, since you say Gezel, there's no problem about stealing it. My niusu of course, there's no hashav zabeda for the owner. You're allowed to even. There's no problem about gezela. Amar says no la'ari. That's like we said before. That's for the skin. And that's what Taisa says, that's the two ideas of the Hashabas Aveda of the, it's really both together. It's the Hashabas Aveda of the skin that you have no obligation to return. So it's dead. So it's not like alive. If it's alive, of course, no Hashabas Aveda. You're allowed to even steal it. And to say, if it's dead, there's no Chiv Hashabas Aveda. Now, basically, the Gemara asks on Rav from the following brisa. Shimon Lazar Oimi says, Megadlin Klavim Kufrim, you're allowed to bring up these, as we mentioned this before, these certain types of dogs, these small dogs, v'chatulin, and we mentioned this before, and cats, v'kupin, and the monkeys, v'chudis and these weasels of the bushes, neshazul and akis the clean it out. But one thing, you're allowed to keep a cat. So are cats good or not? Says Gemara, lekash not difficult. Haba uchma, the black cats, you're allowed to. Haba chivra, the white cats, that you're not allowed to, because Rashi tells us they are muid, they are forewarned to harm people. Says the Gemara, really? Is that so? But Maisa the Rav, the story with Rav, that the kid's hand was cut off, Uchma was a black cat. Says the Gemara, Hasam Uchma Bachibra. That was a black cat, the son of a white cat. And that's why it was harmful. But black family cats, the black cat families are not a problem. Says the Gemara, but how could you say, but this was a question Rabbeinu asked. Rabbeinu asked, what's Allah with a black cat, the son of a white cat? And you're telling me that that was the story, that is forbidden. Rabbinu's question was, a black cat, the son of a white cat, but the Zayd was a black cat. The story of Rav was, this is a black cat, but the Tata and the Zayd were white cats, and therefore you have to know the yichus. So it's actually funny because people had asked this in the past, like regarding certain animals, like you got to know the yichus. So Tais actually tells us this because on this halacha that you're allowed to kill the cat and you're not allowed to hold on to it, Tais has a question on the Masamutl Hargai. The Irish Lokish says in the first page of Sanhedrin, by a lion and a leopard and all these dangerous animals. Even Rabbi Lazar says whoever comes first to kill it is zacha. That's only when they kill. But if they're not killing, then you're not allowed to. Says Tais, that's normal when they're tied to chains. That's the normal way of having these wild animals. Say we're talking about a cat which is not tied. Or no, it says Tais, the second answer is a very interesting answer. He says, those animals, people stay away unless you see that one where the guy's giving the baby bottle to the lion. And where was that? Which country is that? That Ramaylich had showed the lion. But generally you stay away from a lion. But a chatul, a cat, people are not careful of them. They don't know if it's a son of a black cat or the son of a white cat because they don't know the yichus. Imakirim abesim says Taisus. They don't know. Like how are you supposed to know if this cat Vayman's biste, the yichus, maybe Gilgal you're worried about, but not you don't know which whose father is Al Kapanim. That's why they're more dangerous because people don't know to be careful from them. Al Kapanim, the Gemara differentiates regarding cats, regarding which type they are and what even the yichus is, not only from the father but from the Zayd the Eichid, to know the yichus of the cats, to know if they're going to be a whole halacha, like as if they're like okay or not being okay. Now continuing with the Yishuv of Eretz Yisrael, Chabad, this is the mnemonic of the names of Maram. Chabad, Bich Bochan, check the books of the Chabad, I don't know, Simen Al Kaponim, the Bich is a Bich, but Al Kaponim, it's the mnemonic for the names of Maram, because we're actually going to have a lot of names right now. Amar of Achaba Papa, Meshumir of Abba Papa, Meshumir of Adba Papa sounds like the seam. Yeah, Baba zog, was mit all the Puppe zogst scheint, right? And some say no, Amar of Baba Papa, Meshumir of Chiba Papa, Meshumir of Achaba Papa. Some say no, it's Amar of Abba Papa, Meshumir of Achaba Papa, Meshumir of Chanina Papa. Either way, these are all the sons of Papa that Masriin. Halacha is that you could be Masriim. Now it's not clear what Masriim is. Rashi says both, really. Tais discusses, are we talking about a shofar? Masriim is like a lashon of trua. Are we talking about screaming? Rashi seems to say, that you scream out betzibur betchina, with supplication, and with shefaris, and with chatzaitres, and with trumpets. As the Gemara says, Masechtas Tainis. Ala chichuch, what's chichuch? Chichuch means scratching. What do you scratch? Shchim, blisters. We all have, the kids came home last week's parasha with the picture books, with the blisters, with boils. The boils that a person scratches for, you could be masriim on that b'Shabbos on Shabbos. That's what it's discussed. It can't be a shofar. It says that you don't do a shofar on Shabbos. It talks about different types of tefillas. Akapanim, but that's one thing said, these sons of Rapapa. But Delis Hanin Elis. And the door that closes on the person from being successful, sometimes the doors are slammed in your face, they're not easily open. So interesting, Rashi tells us what's the nafkamina is lafusha berachmi. But it doesn't tell us which one. Does that mean to say that you have to really, or that's not going to help anymore? When the doors are slammed in your face, they don't open easily. And another thing they said, bias, someone who buys a house and from a non-Jew, in Eretz Yisrael, you could write the shtar mechira, afil b'Shabbos, even on Shabbos. So the Gemara asks on these three halachas these three ideas of the Bnei Rav Papa. Meisvei. So regarding the first halacha, the Gemara is from the following brisa. Brisa says, is very similar, like we say in Tfilas Haderech, and all the other punishments that are attempting to come onto the community. Like for example, this chichuch, scratching, which is the shchin, which are the boils. Chagav, locusts, wolf, the flies, sira, the wasp, the mosquitoes, and the sending of the snakes and the scorpions. They would not be masriyan on Shabbos, rather they would scream individually. So Rashi, because he was masriyan in tzaikim, so he has to say tzaikim means not betzibur, rather means as a yachid. So you see that would not masriyan for the chichuch. So Malikash not difficult, depends which one. Kan, the Braisa is Toma Balach, with the moist one. A moist one is not so bad. Therefore, it's not so itchy. You can't scream, you can't do masriyan on Shabbos. Kan, Biyavish. We were talking about when it's dry, the dry type is harsher than the moist one. And this is where it comes into these parashias in Shmois. The boils, which we had in last week's parasha. That Hashem brought on the Egyptians. It was moist on the outside, but dry on the inside. Like it says in Shmois, the boils were blisters that spread out on the people and on the animals, which Rashi explains. Ababues pereach means it's prichasa, it's blossoming, which is on the outside, was mevaveya. The pereach, what was on the outside, was bubbling, which is moist. The inference is, but in the inside was yavish, was dry. That's the worst type. That's the ones that the Egyptians had, and that's the type that was saying that you're going to be masriyan on Shabbos. Next halacha they said was Deltan Ellis or Mohashkafa, the doors that close is not going to be speedily open. So what is that? Says that a person is trying to get ordained or as a rabbi, so that if the doors are closing it's not going to be speedily open. Rashi says, says anyone that bad is being done to him, it's not quickly that they're going to be doing good to him. It says no, actually not loy b'mehera, but actually is never going to be done good to him. Which says it's not the case. Who said this, he was saying over his own life story, as the Gemara says in Bava Kama Daf, that they had pointed him to be the Rosh Hashiva, but it didn't help, and he was trying to get a shtela, like they call it. And it wasn't being successful. He says, yeah, that's it. If this is how your life is, that's it. You're stuck. You're never going to get out of it. Which interestingly, Taisus brings in Maskal Lo'ilam Imativan that actually, he himself in that story said Loi b'mehera Mativan Loi in the first parak of Babas Daf Beis and Beis. So why here is he saying in Agamar Lo'ilam Mativan Loi? There he says like the first nusach Loi b'mehera. Says Taisus that he said when he still thought that he's going to get the Shtella, he's going to become Rosh Hashiva. At the end, when he didn't get the Shtella, he changed his mind. Anaya Shiklali. Rabbi say, if the door closes, that's it. If they do bad to a person, the doors are never open, which the Gemara says not true. That was only his personal story. Now the third halacha they said was V'lekeach bayis be'eretz Yisrael. If someone buys a house in Eretz Yisrael, you're allowed to write the shtar mechir, the document, the deed, even on Shabbos. So Shabbos says, you're allowed to write lamates malachas on Shabbos to buy a house in Eretz Yisrael. Like then Rabbi Hassan, rather it's like Rabbi says in a different context regarding a chayla on Shabbos. You could do Amir L'Nachri. You could tell a non-Jew and he does it. So to over here, it's also referring to you telling a non-Jew and he's writing it. Now, although telling a non-Jew to do Malachat Shabbos is a rabbinic prohibition, because the settlement of Eretz Yisrael to get it out of the non-Jew, like Gazr Rabbanan, the Rabbanan did not decree. Which this is actually the source of a big discussion, which Taisus brings over here in Dibben Masach. For what do we allow Amira L'Nachri, which is a well-known discussion, the Bala Itter, whatever, what do we include? Which Taisus over here says, Dafka, because of this mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, but for some other mitzvah, we wouldn't permit Amira L'Nachri. Even in Tzarech Mila, it sounds like in Erevin, that they didn't permit Amira L'Nachri by Issa D'Oraisa regarding a child that the hot water was spilled out. They said, ask the mother, because she's not well, then yeah, but if not, they wouldn't permit it even through a non-Jew. And Taisus discussed about Riches regarding if that's the case, regarding different opinions regarding this halacha about Amil Nachri. When do we allow? Which is obviously a very common halachic question. And the Gemara just ends off. He says that someone purchases a city in Eretz Yisrael. We force him. Right, developers have responsibilities on them. We force them to buy, to purchase roads from the four directions. Because the settlement of Eretz Yisrael, meaning to say we need it to be a settled a way of making a settlement in the appropriate way, and therefore you have to be able to have roads coming in and out from all four directions. Thank you for any time. Those things.